back with part two. Guess what happened? We lost sound. Thank God I didn't do the interviews. You know why? Because I would have lost the sound. I would have had a hard time trying to edit everything. So we are going to share everything in this journey. I need coffee. Do you hear my voice? I need my voice to be top of the line. We want to thank Starbucks for sponsoring this war. Once again, if you want to buy me a cup of coffee, dollar sign, Cash App, Vanamar1 wins. That's it. Buy me some coffee. This coffee was $6. $6. That means that's a dollar, two, three, four, five. It better come with a free parking space. Voting began yesterday, and the question is it time to show the world that I am America's next top hit maker? I'll be featured in Rolling Stone. I'll perform at the Global Citizen Festival in Central Park as the marquee artist, and is sponsored by SoundCloud. So go to tophitmaker.org to vote because voting started, and you can share it on Facebook. Now, if you vote for me, I will give you a hug at the concert. How's that? Right? Somebody just wrote to me. Aquí estoy, mi reina, en el aeropuerto haciendo un video aquí, comenzando el día. Me estoy bebiendo un café porque estoy ronquísimo. Pero aquí voy. Dios me la bendiga. La quiero demasiado. Usted sabe, cuando filmemos y lleguen todos esos cuartos, usted es millonario. Sí, perdóneme, que ese era el teléfono de mi tío. Entonces, usted sabe, yo soy un artista y tengo un concierto, tengo varios eventos allá y lo estoy llamando y veo que no me está respondiendo y desde anoche le estoy diciendo yo, cargue los micrófonos que voy en camino. Pero está bien, no se preocupe, tiene un hermano de por vida, se puede mantener en comunicación, que Dios lo bendiga. Y aquí estamos a la orden, ¿ok? Vamos a llamar a la doña, a ver qué está haciendo la doña. My mother be cursing, I can't be put her on the line. She would cuss me out. My mother does it every day. I'll let her call back. So on the flight, I'm listening to this keynote speech. Everything is raising capital, consulting services, the wannabe gurus. Shout out to all the real gurus. But sadly, as an artist, I've been asked for everything from $1 to $1 million. And there was a lady, I wrote about this on Future Tech Plus. There was a lady that I was going to pay the $1 million to, and then she didn't want to take the money. I'm like, I don't understand. But welcome to the industry. This is a business. This is what happens every day. So, what would I like to share with all of you? Always remember to dream big because dreams come true. It happened to me, and I know for a fact it's going to happen to you. Just keep working hard. Don't let anybody put you down. Don't be afraid. Take a risk. You only have one life to live, right? You got one opportunity to achieve all of your dreams, one lifetime. So why waste it because of what people think or say or do, whatever? So many people love to live in a box. I've always been a free spirit, always been a free person, always been myself. It's cool to be you, you know. Sometimes social political pressure, you know, our family, our friends, society, everybody's dictating what you should do. But then look at their lives. What are they doing with their
Attention all
lives?
passengers. USA
Um,
regulations require all traveling
that's why
individuals to
my
maintain
mentality
control of the
is always
quality.
go for it. You know, you're
Including
gonna go
airline
through ups and
baggage and checked
downs. The
baggage
last
to
year
avoid transporting items with weapon
since
knowledge.
launching this tour
Also,
has been
remember traveling
crazy.
firearms through TSA
And I'm
screening
just getting
checkpoints
started.
at
I tell
airports
people
is
this is day
prohibited by
one.
federal law and
I've
regulations.
suffered,
Check
I've
your
been
carry-on
through a
bags
lot
for
of
firearms
different
before
things in my
entering
life.
TSA screening checkpoints.
And, you know, as soon as I gain the strength to, you know, be on some positive shit, I'm kicking the lyrics on some positive shit to everybody because I know that everybody goes through moments like that. But then you have to realize too that you have better days. You have more better days than days where the rain is just everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So if you could just hold on to that, even if you find yourself in a dark place, then you're gonna be okay. You know, and my mentors and my teachers always taught me pay it forward. So each one teach one, right? You can help one person, help one person. You know, if every time you feel like you're in a funk and you come out of it and you feel like you have all the strength to fight back, use that opportunity to inspire and motivate another person. And then they keep doing it. Before you know it, we change the world. One person could change the world. Tupac Shakur, my favorite artist, said, I won't change the world, but I'll spark the heart and the mind of the person that will change the world. When Tupac said that, I felt like he was talking to me. I really believed it in my heart. I actually got to meet one of his aunts. We were on a flight all the way from the south, east coast, all the way to the west coast. So I got to ask this lady so many questions, so many questions. And I get to take that with me in my heart forever. But you know, here I am. This is the beginning, you know. I have the greatest opportunities in my life and I'm facing the greatest challenges in my life. Physically, emotionally, psychologically, financially. You know, this career field is very expensive, it's very time consuming, it's a lot of sacrifices. You know, I'm running on Starbucks, you know, and then overseas, same thing. Like, just because I'm going overseas and the currency is different, you still have to pay the same price. For example, if you go to Popeyes overseas, if you're paying $15 for a combo in the States or in Europe, you're going to be paying that anywhere else because it's a delicacy. And really, most of the people that are the tourists, they're the ones paying for it. It's not really the local people. So, by the grace of God, I've amassed this 8,000 song catalog. I've been battling with Guinness World Records, the whole music industry, financial institutions. I mean, it's just so much that at this point in my career, I finally get to enjoy it, you know, and now I can speak freely about it. And if it makes them feel uncomfortable, that's their own personal issues. That has nothing to do with me. I'm going to continue to be like a solid foundation for positivity that anything is possible. And at that time, I only had like 24 different genres of music. I've added more styles as time has progressed. Styles like the Brazilian funk. I have, man, listen, I have a song called Aphrodisia. I want La Insuperable to get on the remix. The song is fire. I was on the flight and, you know, I'm flying overseas, right? So I'm flying in the nighttime. I'm on a red eye and I'm listening to my music and I'm looking for like the podcast, like the business stuff, right? So I could take my business notes or whatever. And I just so happened to come across the song. Like I just so happened to press play and I'm like, damn, Right when I was trying to fall asleep, that song had me like, yo, when you hear that song in the club, people are gonna go crazy. But it just goes to show you, man, these are the parts that Hollywood doesn't glamorize. They don't tell you all the hard work. For every overnight success stories, there's like 25 years of somebody working hard. And then people see you driving in the Ferrari, the Porsche, the Lamborghini. They're like, "Oh wow, he just got that." No, he that person was working hard for that for all these years. It's not even a money thing. It's a discipline thing because it's very hard. Getting the Ferrari is easy. Keeping it is hard. Getting married is easy. Staying married is hard. Everything has this balance, right? In the music industry, especially in America and in Europe, people don't want to share the knowledge. When I first went overseas, I'm like, yo, I want to talk to all the artists. I want to teach them all the technology and how this works. They're not at that stage in life where they even care. You know, they want the short term gain. Like, oh, just give me the advance. I'll take the deal. Let me go look nice. That's it. Insecurities. Now I'm like the Chinese. Most of my investments in my portfolios, they're in the Asias. Business first, business second, business third, business fourth, business fifth. Thank God, my children, my wife, my loved ones. But that's really why they do business the way that they do. Because we could be friends later. Let's do business first. For example, like it was unheard of in the past for an artist to negotiate with the owner of a venue, let's say a club, bar, lounge, something like that, public or private event. If, let's say, the influence of that artist or the event of that artist produces an increase of 48% on sales, let's say the artist negotiates 20% of that. So that 48%, let's say it's 48,000, for just to have a figure, right? 10% of that is 4,800. 20% is what, eight, nine, $10,000. That's money that an artist before would leave on the table, and you don't realize it because everything is cumulative, right? So let's say that artist has a staff. For example, I have dancers and choreographers and people that do lights and special effects and smokes and the DJ. That extra 10, 15, 20 grand can pay for all of that. Now I can negotiate the actual venue for myself, and these are things that, it's kind of sad. Like I see so many new artists falling for the pitfall, like even on tour, right? I have some friends that are artists. They'll go shopping before the tour even launches because, we get half the money up front, right? After we perform, then they liquidate whatever the balance is. So these people go shopping, live the credit card game, get the advance, blow that on nonsense. Then by the time they do get paid, they're just paying back the debt and then they do it again. But see, you don't realize 1 month passes, 1 quarter passes, 1 year passes, 5, 10 years later, like you'd be surprised how many artists would tell you, yo, I probably spent like $10 million. On what? Oh man, I don't even know, man. I went on vacation, I went about this, I did this. And you don't see it because you're not seeing it all together. So you're like, oh, I make 100,000 a show. I could go spend 40,000. Yeah, you could do that once. You could do that twice. You can't do that for 5 years. When that money could go towards hiring, let's say, a professional that can take your career to a grander scale. I'll give you an example. Some records, you know, it takes a few $1 million to break one record, one song. At the same time, there's songs that you could break for less than $1 million, $500,000, $250,000. Do you know that most artists have that in jewelry and they will not pay a publicist? They will not make that investment in themselves. And it shows in everything. Like the branding of their music, the way that they conduct themselves in business. When they go to a boardroom meeting with higher up executives, they don't want to do business with them, you know? And you have to realize that as an artist, if you make that mistake, you could be leaving a lot of money on the table. I do weddings and sweet 16s. I do quinceañeras. I'm always on tour. There's no such thing. That for me, that's passive income. For me, that's like a rehearsal compared to a concert. A lot of artists they can't perform in certain venues. They can't perform in certain clubs. They can't do a wedding because the music is negative, bad words. The topics are crazy. All I need to do is perform my greatest hits. All romantic, all melodic, baby making music. I could perform for the nuns at the church. And everybody from the babies, the little kids, all the way to the old people, they're gonna love it. But I took the time to make those records so that I could do that. So now for retirement, what's a better retirement plan than that? Forget about doing a club for $100,000. Somebody could pay you to go do a wedding overseas for $500,000, and nobody knows. You just perform for the fucking royal family, and they want to know what your style of music is or whatever. Granted, overseas is Sharia law. You can't go to Dubai and perform crazy records like that. Now, if the fans want to go through the catalog and they want, those type of high energy records, those are available too. But you cannot make a career doing that. It's like if I was an actor, right? And all I did was action movies. All I did was horror movies. All I did was comedy movies. No, it has to be a variety. If you're an investor, you're not just going to invest in real estate. You need restaurants, you need car dealerships, you need a little supermarket, you need some real estate, you need this, you need that, you need a little technology, you need a little, precious metals. There's so many different avenues. So a lot of the new artists, they can feel offended if you try to give them advice in a way that they can relate to, because you also have to understand that that's a stage that they're going to burn. And believe me, within the first 2 or 3 years, most artists start realizing it when they have to go through a third party to get access to themselves, right? Or their career. So they have a budget from the label, but three people have to sign off. Something happens in their personal life, they need to have access to quick money. They don't have access because they don't authorize anything, they don't sign off. So now they got to call the label, ask for per diem, get a loan. It goes off of whatever their monies that they're either receiving or they're paying back. And the record labels have a clause in the contracts that the money is paid back at the royalty rate. So it takes so much time for them to recuperate that, because that actual style of loan is no good. And then they complain. This is why you have to be careful. This is why you need a team. At the same time, I have my own children. I went and I educated myself. I cannot preach to the choir. I can't tell artists, yo, don't do this, don't do that. The best thing I could tell them is be careful, educate yourself, learn the business, and build a career for yourself. One day you're not going to be the hottest thing on the planet. One day you're not going to be the young new thing. So you got to think about what you want to do long term. It doesn't matter if you go play professional sports. You could go play for the NFL, you could play for NBA or Major League Baseball. But what about if you get injured? What about your investments? What if you need something to fall back on? If you don't build that for yourself, then there's really not much that you can do. So you got to really like think about all of these things. And it's nothing personal, it's just a reality. Like, you know, when I was young and things were moving so fast, you think like it's never going to end. You think that you're going to be young forever. You think that you're going to be hip and up to date with everything that's going on. You see, even that, even keeping up with the Jones, that's like stuff that people do when they're young. When you get older, you know what you keep up with? You keep up with the stock market. You keep up with your retirement. You keep up with your investments. You keep up with your loved ones, your family, your friends, your peers, your colleagues. You don't have time to know what new Rolls Royce came out and how much more expensive it is. Even when you mention the price, it sounds appealing to a younger demographic, but it's all a stage. There's an artist in Dominican Republic. His name is Omega. You guys most likely have heard of him. He's one of the legends. Like all he does is like a street style mambo, but you know he harmonizes. He knows how to tone. He could rap. He could sing. He could do all kinds of stuff. This is an artist that was put under so many harmful contracts, but has a catalog and a repertoire so big that he was able to stay overseas and still become a millionaire because the music was that good. Yes, he's had to work much harder than most artists, and especially overseas, where again the currency is different, and you think, oh, I'm getting a discount, but no, you still have to market in the United States. You still have to market in Asia and every other country overseas. So if it costs $1 million to break a record, it's going to cost you $1 million whether you do it in Japan, whether you do it in Europe. It doesn't matter. So he's been able to perform like basically every week, every weekend for years. Like we're talking, I want to say over 10 years. So it may not have been everything at the moment, but all those things add up. Now he's an artist that's revered that, anybody can aspire to have a career like that. And I'm 42, I'll be 43 in October. Omega has to be like 55, 56, but you can't tell. He keeps himself in shape. He performs all the time, festivals. I mean, this guy's amazing, man. I actually know a few of the people that work with him overseas. So these are things that you want to learn. You know what I mean? Again, some of the people in my family, they're older than me. They're not retired. They don't understand what the fuck I'm talking about. You know? And it's easy to look at your 401k or your Rothschild IRA or whatever and be amazed at what you've amassed in corporate America 20, 25 years. But for me, one of those jewels is my greatest hits. I could just perform my greatest hits for the rest of my life. Anywhere where there's music, anywhere where love is in the air and there's couples starting a life, building a life, developing a life. It doesn't matter what age group that they're in. It's just music. Good music transcends because people live their lives to your music. So there are certain things like even when performing on stage, like, you know, everything is Tom Ford, high end, Banana Republic, The Gap, things like that. Um, where anybody will feel comfortable to invite you to their home, to their event, to represent their company. Like at the same time, there's a lot of artists that I know, world renowned artists, that you may believe that they fell off the face of the earth, right? But these artists are doing so many corporate events. In corporate, they don't let you film, they don't let you take no photography. These guys are making millions of dollars. And you would never, ever know it because now they realize that it is a business and producing passive income is better than being in the limelight. That initial investment, yeah, the label makes that and boom, you're a worldwide name. But then how do you capitalize on that? You know, there are many artists that realize that, you know what, everything that glitters is not gold and it is a business. So if they treat it as a business from the onset, then you should do the same. You know, that's the best way that I could break it down. And You even learn to not take things personal. There's artists that'll say things like, I'm not going to open the show. I just want to close. There's artists that will say, I don't want to close the show. I just want to open. Then there are artists that are legends, like let's say a Daddy Yankee or Don Omar Latego or Baby Rate y Gringo or Evie Queen. They don't care if they open the show, if they perform second. They don't care if they close. They don't care if it's Univision or Televisa or Telemundo. They don't. It's a business. Money's deposited. They're gonna go perform. They're gonna be professional. They're gonna do everything that they can to be there on time. You know, for example, just yesterday, I was hearing about this. Something that's happening overseas, right? Where the owners of these venues they have to close by a certain time. So the owners are are wrongfully telling artists, "Yo, you know, I want you to go on stage at 2:30 in the morning, right?" Well, guess what? Overseas, a lot of places close by 3 o'clock in the morning, and that's when most of the money is made because people are having the time of their lives, right? So now, when the city comes and shuts down the venues, they're ticketing the artists, but the artists are following what the owners are saying when the owners know what they're doing is wrong. So now, my advice to the artists is make sure you negotiate. Okay, if the permits are until 3 a.m., make sure you're off stage by 1:30, 1:45. Don't even take the chance of the city coming to find you. A few weeks ago, I heard about a situation where during the Cash Money Rough Riders tour, I think BG got fined, but Lil Wayne, I think they had told him, "Yo, you got to be off stage by a certain time." They fined him $100,000 for every minute he was over on the stage, and when they shut everything off, he was still on stage for like 3 minutes, so he paid like 300 grand. That's probably what he made in the whole concert. Mind you, this is late 90s, early 2000s. Imagine what it is now. So the same way that big venues have the Nielsen machines, so they can know what's being played, so they can pay out royalties to artists, they know. So again, if you're an artist that doesn't have that respect for yourself, right, and doesn't say, you know what, in my contractual agreement, I have a stipulation, I have to be off stage by 1 o'clock. A lot of artists don't have the confidence, they don't have the right management team to understand that's damaging to the brand because they're never going to say the venue or the owners or the managers or the promoters. They're going to say the artist. Just like if anybody in the entourage is in any controversy, they're always going to tie it back to the brand, which is the artist. You see, the people in the entourage, they don't have anything to lose. They can be easily replaced. Yet they'll fight for that position as if they care about it. But if they really cared about it, they wouldn't do anything unprofessional to jeopardize the brand of the artist. But it happens all the time. And you don't realize these are the things that can occupy the minds of an artist and not really allow an artist to flourish. These are things that you learn with experience. You know what I'm saying? So at this point in my life, I really correlated back to my children. Let me tell you something that I've learned and I share with you guys as much as I can. Our children don't come from us, right? Our children come through us. We're just a portal. I like music, my kids like fashion. I love movies, my kids like sports. I love business, my children love technology. Notice how Michael Jordan's children don't play basketball, but then LeBron's children play basketball. It's a lottery. It's a roulette of spin the wheel. You know what I'm saying? So Just because I'm into real estate doesn't mean that, you know, my children are going to be into real estate. I may like rock and roll music, they might like techno music. That's how everything works. So with my children, I've learned to let them see the world for themselves. Let them go through their own experiences. I could tell my children to invest. I can't tell them what to invest in. I may say, open an internet cafe. They may want to open a sandwich and juice bar. You get what I'm saying? All I need to do is support as a father and say, invest so you can multiply whatever income streams that you have. But I've learned that, sometimes people pick a career because of like the pressures, the families, like we're all carpenters, so you need to do construction. If that's not the happiness, then it doesn't matter. I told my son, Bobby, I'm gonna build you a barbershop. I'm gonna buy you a barbershop. He said, Dad, I play sports. That's not my career trajectory. It's not my thing. All I could do was respect that. My oldest son, he plays sports. He got into real estate. He got into building credit and using leverage with properties that he already owned and rented out to get more financing to buy more properties. Now he's like multimillionaire, mad young. That was his thing. In the beginning, you're afraid. You're like, oh my God, this house is so expensive. How you gonna do it? Oh man, you drive a Corvette. What if you miss a car payment? You mess up your credit. You miss the mortgage. He figured it out. Multiple homes. Partnered up with his mother and his aunt. Started a real estate company. Three people. Two older, obviously, to advise him. But he put in the hard work. He paid his bills on times. He built the credit. So he has a small car collection, which he earned. He deserves to have that. Maybe if I would have told him invest in technology and let's say something like Bitcoin doesn't work out, then he could have been upset at me. He could have said, oh, you know what? If I wouldn't, I'll give you another example. My brother wanted to buy this business one time. Me, my older brother, my dad all voted no. We all said that's a bad investment. Do you know that many years later, during the conversation, he was still like, "Oh, because you guys didn't let me buy that place, and it was a gold mine." And I'm like, "You don't, you don't even realize everything that God was saving you from. You don't even realize the headache." Then, as time progressed, history repeated itself. Another business, same thing. No support from anybody that really understands business. That's this not falling in love with, oh, I'm gonna buy a high rise. Yeah, that's a $25 million headache. You sure you want to buy a high rise? It looks nice. It's prestigious. What kind of investment you got? Yeah, I got a high rise. But now you got all those tenants. If an AC unit breaks, you have to replace that same day. You know, everything dealing with every family, even if you rent to only military families, you're still gonna have to deal with the headache. So is that the headache that you want? I'll give you another wild card. Average small business, less than 100,000. Average investment, a little over 200,000. What's my best advice? Buy Bitcoin, invest in a small business. One is gonna outdo the other. When one slows down, the other one will pick up. And you live off the difference. That's it. You could buy Bitcoin and that's like having a small business. You could double, triple, lose everything. But then again, what used to be a 5 year breaking period for a business, 5 year return on investment, now is an 8 year investment. So you're on the same boat. Worst case scenario, stock market drops to the ground, you're going to lose about 10%. Best case scenario, consistently, if you invest long term, you'll probably make about 10%. 8 years every time. Same amount of money, different kind of investment. You know, I have friends overseas that do drop shipping, right? So they have this warehouse, they have all this logistics stuff done, they have all these products, all these services. Every week, my friend's job literally is go through all his orders off Amazon or the website. He goes to every storage bin, prepares every box, and ships them out. He's bought so much inventory that it doesn't even matter if he's selling computers, laptops, cell phones. It doesn't matter because it all averages out. I have a friend that has another investment, and I swear to you, is these type of investments nobody expects, right? This product people need it all the time, right? So he saw how good it went for him that he bought like a 18 wheelers, you know, amount of cargo, right? Everything that he bought, all electronics, whatever. Do you know that he outlived the whole year selling products every weekend? He will have like a pop-up store, like at the pawn shops or the swap meets on the West Coast. Swap meets are very, very popular, right? And that was his living. He would go early, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, set up his booth. The booths, they rent them, right? Every week. And this product that everybody loves and needs, especially if it's good quality, is always there. So with time, people will go there for a different product and say, oh, you know what? I bought a sound system, man, I need some headphones. Or I bought a laptop, I need a new monitor. I bought a new laptop, I need a extension keyboard, or I need a charger, I need whatever. And guess what? He's always there to negotiate and bargain a deal. And that's another strategy to his success because if he could just make an extra 10, 20%, sell a pair of headsets, you know, instead of $100, you sell it for 110, 120. You bargain it, you bundle it. Like you could go to like a lot of pawn shops, right? They'll have like a PS5 with two controllers and two games, and it'll be like 40% off what a new one would cost. So you still get a warranty to make sure it's in good condition. You save 30, 40%, and you have extra controllers, extra games. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. Little things like that, you would never realize that those businesses are really that good. I was having a conversation with my mom and I said, Mom, you want to open a business. And I'm like, listen, Mom, you see a nice community where like a high end dining experience is missing, open a restaurant. Oh, but how's that going to work? This, that, and the third. And I'm like, Mom, you have no competition. Open a restaurant there. Yes, eventually, if your restaurant does good, yes, people are going to invest in other restaurants. But then it supports a community of restaurants. Sometimes people go to the Olive Garden. Sometimes they go to PF Chang's or they'll go to Red Lobster. But why can't you be the owner of one of those? And especially overseas, where it doesn't have to be a big franchise like Red Lobster or whatever. Look at Barbara Cochran and her investment in Shark Tank with Maine Lobster. They took a food truck item, really a back of your truck uh, comfort food, turn it into a food truck, turn it into brick or mortar locations, proof of concept, turn it into frozen foods and national distribution. Game over. What's the key to their advantage? All of the lobster is fresh. All of the lobster comes from Maine. They only deal with, because that's like their specialty. $1 billion company on Shark Tank. They went in there asking for a few 100,000. $1 billion company, Maine Lobster. While everybody's like, oh, I want to own a Red Lobster. Why does it have to be a Red Lobster? Maine Lobster. Every day we hear these examples. Man, this person did it this way. Look at fear of God, right? For people that love fashion, as a business that I'm investing in, right? Fear of God is like the high-end luxury European fashion line, right? But then you have essentials for the people that live in the metropolis, whether you're in California or you're in New York, is going to fit your style. That brand probably duplicated, meaning doubles what the other brand makes, because the other brand makes high profit off of low volume. Essentials is smaller profit, but the volume is ridiculous. Matter of fact, shout out to my homegirl. She has a store and whatnot. Shout out to Team VaynerMedia. Shout out to Gary Vaynerchuk. Shout out to all my V friends. Um, she sells a lot of the pieces. She buys them wholesale. A lot of the shirts that are like $150, she sells them for like half price because she's bought so much that she's still making a 25% margin. Just imagine if the bank gave you 25% on your investment, on your money, on your savings. You know how many more millionaires we will have walking in the streets? So think about it. This is a young, Spanish girl. She started with like a few family members and relatives, and now she's the queen of whatnot. And all she sells is things like that, Supreme, Essentials, those brands that are very like, it's for the younger crowd that's into the new thing. Like for me, I still like the Gap. I love Old Navy. I love Banana Republic. I love Tom Ford. That's like those brands have like a lasting quality. And you can tell with the way that the clothing fit. And it's not something out of this world. When you go into other brands like Supreme and stuff like that, I'm telling you, I have friends that I'm like, I'm happy that that's your hobby and that's your thing. I like cars. So collecting cars, modifying cars, racing cars, building cars, cars for car shows, auctions and all that stuff takes a lot of money, man. I have friends. I have a friend of mine, childhood friend. Shout out to UC4. He bought a dynamometer that's like $100,000. That's just for him to do the tuning. Like when you take your car to his performance shop, he can modify everything at the hub. Like, before the dynos had to have the wheels rolling on the rollers, thing of the past. The new hubs connect to the housing of the actual, like in Spanish we call it the cangrejo, the crab, which is the actual hub. And whatever performance, it measures it more accurately at each wheel. And because you don't have that worry that the car is gonna jump off the dyno, you don't have to tie it down and all that stuff because they literally pull off the wheels and the tires and connect the machine to the hub. So something about that technology makes it more advanced. And my friend probably had the first one in Dominican Republic. I know he had the first one in Florida for sure. You know what I mean? And that's an investment that maybe more people overseas would be more reluctant and willing to make that investment. My friend did that like years ago. You already know with as many trophies as his team and his company has, that investment paid off millions of dollars. Look at Horatio Pagani, which we used on the business class. He bought the autoclave for Lamborghini. He used to ride his bicycle to Lamborghini. He used to sweep him off the floors. Him and his wife came from Argentina, didn't speak any English, didn't speak Castellano, did not speak Italian. He designed the 30th anniversary uh, Countach because he built the all carbon fiber, the first all carbon fiber Lamborghini. The Pagani Zonda is all the corrections to the Lamborghini Diablo because he saw the vision. You know what I'm saying? So I try to be inspired, you know, be inspired by those things. So it's an amazing thing. But that's all the time that we have. I love you guys. And we'll be right back after this commercial break. Let's see how much battery we got. And I gotta get some sleep. I'm not gonna finish that coffee. It's too much. Or maybe I'll drink it. I don't know. I'm gonna take it with me. Sometimes they say you can't bring it. Love you guys. See you in a little bit.